I'm a Minotaur, so get lost or get them all. Charizard, no Philly, that's Asgard. Don't misconstrue, no interlude. My only mood is go hard. 27th Street niggas, that's me high. 27th Street niggas. Put your hands high.
What's going on, my fellow Digi-Destined? This is Trey, aka The Brain from Team Hotheads. Good morning, good evening, maybe good night to some of you out there in YouTube land. I'm so happy to be back providing some content for you guys, but let's give a full disclosure before we get into what's going on here for essentially the lack of content. Essentially here in the States, which kind of sucked for us, we did get a huge delay when it came to BT-6 as well as the starter decks. So for everyone who's been, I guess, not in America and been getting the BT-6 content, all that stuff, we, however, will not be getting BT-6 until next week. So that is why I am very excited. Next week is the first pre-release for BT-6, which a couple members of the team will be attending, myself included. So we will hopefully be getting some new BT-6 content, meaning this will be the last Digimon BT-5 deck profile you guys are going to be getting. I thought I would give the last profile an update of one of the first profiles, which would be my Lordknightmon. It's still a budget deck, and it's been upgraded since the first time when I only have access to about one copy of Lordknightmon. So we have gotten some major upgrades since then. Another little thing is hopefully we'll be getting some more content in all the other card game areas, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Digimon. Again, the lack of content thereof was due to just a lack of, I guess accessibility is the easiest way to say it, here in the States and generally everywhere with the global pandemic. Most card games are taking place online. The few in-person tournaments are very far and hard to get to. And the one in-person tournament, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh! That was happening here with a local player who had it organized, he has seen a decline in participation for tournaments, making it that much harder for me to get Yu-Gi-Oh! Content at least. Digimon content's a little bit easier to get to because it is the card game I'm playing the most. I have not played Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively in quite some time, so if you do get a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile from me or report anything from me, it's going to be very casual, very just for fun. Live games as well. So full disclosure with all that, I do love providing content. I do love recording, editing, and getting these things out. I like, changing the profiles, all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to get anything with everyone being so far away and not easy to get to. People have full-time jobs, part-time jobs, only can get here, then and there. So it does make access to content a little harder, a little tricky to get to. But with all that out the way, we're going to jump into this profile, which is, of course, Lordknightmon. And I'm going to say, come BT-6, don't count your girl out. I'm assuming it's a girl, looks like a girl. Don't count your girl out. Lordknightmon can still hang with the big guns. I did have the chance to play against a Jessamon deck, and Jessamon can put in some work, but Lordknightmon can definitely hang in there with Jessamon, as well as the Gobblebonds, all those BT-6 decks. Lordknightmon can still hang in there with. So if you don't have immediate access to BT-6, but you still have access to some BT-5 stuff, don't feel bad, because some of the BT-5 decks can still very much so hang in the BT-6 format. So this is going to be my last update for Lordknightmon. I'll even tell you before I close out the video what I'm probably going to change come BT-6. There are only a couple cards in BT-6 that really pertain to Lordknightmon. Dynasmon takes yellow in a whole different direction. It doesn't really synergize well with Lordknightmon. I did attempt a deck with all the Royal Knights because I just thought it would be so great to have Lordknightmon, Controlsmon, and Dynasmon all in the same deck. Unfortunately, it's very hard to pull off. They don't really synergize really well. Controlsmon focuses very much so on security attack negation, negatives. Lordknightmon is very much DP reduction, and then Dynasmon has its own thing going with taking cards out of the security stack. So that being said, it's not much really Lordknightmon can change, especially my build. It's very much so a budget build, and I'll explain to you why I say it's a budget build as we go in. So we're going to start I do like doing kind of in-depth things just because you never know when somebody's joining into the game. This could be your first deck profile you ever saw. This could be, you know, you've played Lordknightmon for a while. But just in case, I do like to go into why I play certain cards, ratios, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start off with the rookies, and we're going to get right into it. I'll start off with the eggs. So starting off with the eggs, we are playing 4 copies of Pikmon and 1 copy of Upamon. The Pikmons, if you have 3 or more Digimon in play, when you attack, minus 1,000. And then I really like getting an Upamon later game, because once you have 3 or fewer security, you get to draw one whenever you swing with it. Just unfortunately, that my luck, no matter how much I shuffle up my Digi-Eggs, and I have 4 Pikmons, this always seems to be my first Digi-Egg, and it's really frustrating. So moving on from there, we're playing for Lordknightmon, 3 copies of Koteimon and 4 copies of Starmon. These 2 are more so, they pertain way more to Lordknightmon. Koteimon searches for Lordknightmon as well as Knightmon, and Starmon is a great card to play off of the Lordknightmon when attacking effect. Then we also have another card great to play off of the attacking effect, which is Bushi Agumon, who is a rookie that has Rush. And then these next cards are just to kind of confuse my opponent, keep them from knowing what I'm playing. Playing 2 copies of Solomon. It's just a 2 cost, very easy to play. Another 2 costs we have is Falcomon. Both these guys serve the same purpose, which is kind of memory control. Not to give your opponent too much memory. Pass with 1 most of the time. This one's a 5k, this one's a 3k. They both can be popped pretty easily, but like I said, they serve the same purpose, and the reason I play 2 of each is to keep my opponent from trying to guess what I have left in my deck. If you play the Falcomon, your opponent might assume you play 4, and then once they get rid of 2, they'll, once they get rid of 1, they start counting and thinking you only have 3 left, and it just, when you play different ratios of things, it makes it harder for your opponent to really know what you're doing. Like if I played all 3 of these out, my opponent might assume I'm playing Rookie Rush, but I'm not. I just don't like having all 4 or all play sets, because it's easier for your opponent to calculate what you're doing. But then playing 2 copies of Patamon. Something is deleted from dropping to 0, you get to gain memory. And then 2 copies of Cutemon. Cutemon is just here easily to hold off on DP reduction abilities. Any deck that focuses on reduce the evolution cost, this says it can't, so it's a very good control card. I typically will just play it out for 3, especially if my opponent passes to me with 2. I'll play Cutemon and just hopefully let it sit on the board, and it really slows certain decks down. Moving on to the champions, level 4s. As far as Lordknightmon goes, we're playing 2 copies of Gladiemon. This can easily be cut down to 1. It does similar to the same thing as Koteimon. In this case, it searches the security stack, looks for a warrior or a holy warrior, and then you get recovery +1 if you add 1 to your hand. The reason I like him is because if you did want to play a Royal Knight centric deck with Controlsmon and Dynasmon and Lordknightmon, you'd have way more targets for him as well as Koteimon. Then for our 1 cost Digivolve, we got 3 copies of Terriermon. It's a 1 cost Digivolve. That's the greatest reason. 1 cost, 6k attack. Another 1 cost we're playing are 4 copies of Pedomon. Pedomon is just a 4 cost blocker. It sucks that it's a 5k DP because it can be popped easily by a lot of cards. So to circumvent that, we also are playing 1 copy of Unimon. This can easily be 2 copies of Unimon by taking off the other Gladiemon. This could be a 2nd copy of Unimon. Lordknightmon in the beginning going, this is very much defensive unless you have a really good hand. You're not playing too aggressively. So on top of our champions, we're now playing our ultimates. First, it's 4 copies of Knightmon. He just pairs very well with Lordknightmon. His own play negs something by 4,000. I did learn in my match against a Justmon player that 4,000 is really rough when playing against Justmon, because a lot of their cards are 5k, and a lot of Lordknightmon's cards reduce something by like 3k, 4k, 1k. So you have to do a whole lot of combos to really clear a lot of the boards, like if somebody playing like Justmon. Dabblemons, depending on how the person builds the deck, if they're playing a Rookie Rush version, you could clear a lot with just these 4k DPs, but anybody that's spamming out 5k here, 5k there, 5k here, these guys start to seem insignificant because they can't really clear a body without an extra boost, which is really annoying. speaking of 4K DP reduction, we're playing 2 copies of War Growlmon. Does the same thing as Knightmon, reduces something by 4K. This is also a Digiburst though. If you notice, a lot of our build-ups have no inherent effects. Our level 3s don't really have inherent effects, level 4s don't really have inherent effects. So War Growlmon is a really good ultimate to go into because you can Digiburst those guys away and then keep his effect. Other than Pikmon, a lot of our stuff has no really inherent effects you want to keep around. You have the Patamon that you want to keep around, but other than that, you can just Digiburst it away and it won't really make a difference to how you're playing. Particular Spice, the way we're changing this deck up is, this is how I changed it, 2 copies of Rise Greymon. So you'll see as we get a little further in, I'm playing way more Tamers, so this Rise Greymon does come in handy. I would definitely prefer it to be the red Rise Greymon that can Digivolve on top of the yellow and also count to the yellow, just because its effect is a Digiburst, similar to War Growlmon, meaning I don't have to use it as soon as I get it. A lot of times if I have this guy before I have a Tamer to play with him, he's basically a dead card. So one way I would change it come BT-6 if I do get a hold of them is I definitely would switch this Rise Greymon for the red Rise Greymon. And then the last ultimate I'm playing is 1 copy of Anjouamon. I thought about taking out one of the Knightmons and adding a second Anjouamon, just for late game, similar to the Upamon. Late game, she's very helpful to be able to recover +1 if you have 3 or less security. But similar to the Rise Greymon, she can be a dead draw, which is why I do like just keeping it at 1, just as a little tech. But with the Knightmons, a lot of times I do see way too many of these guys. So I figure having 3 will make sure I have them when I need them and not just all the time. So to round it up and finish it off, our megas are 4 copies of Knightmon, Lordknightmon, the main mega of the deck, and as well as 3 copies of Shine Greymon. So Shine Greymon is the twist I took. I took the Kentauros Mons out, the Shikaku Mon, I took all that out, and now I'm playing the Shine Greymon package. Just because it's more DP reduction, I figured having quicker and better access to constant DP reduction was the best way to play Lordknightmon. So that's what I went with. You play, you attack Lordknightmon, you play level 3 or a warrior, and you just spam the board out with cards similar to Jessamon. And then you get, +1000. So sometimes what I will do is just spam the board out with enough bodies to keep my Lordknightmon from being able to just be run over. Like say I don't have a blocker, I'll just spam out a couple of rookies, a couple of champions. That way my opponent can't just easily run over Lordknightmon. The issue with that is a lot of the newer cards do have very high DP attacks on their opponent's turn. But the double ended sort of that is, it does then mean they have to invest an attack into Lordknightmon and not into your security stack, which can then, you have a chance to build back up. Because 9 times out of 10, if you swung with Lordknightmon, you've played a Knightmon off its effect, which means you already have another ultimate to go into another mega. So if they have to waste an attack to kill your Lordknightmon, all more for you. We're playing 3 copies of TK. This is probably like the most expensive card in the deck at the moment, just because this TK doesn't really seem to drop in price. It's a really good staple card for yellow. 1 copy of Kari. It's great to play off of the Rise Greymon because it has no on-play effect, and once your opponent starts if they try to aggro you too hard, you lose your 3 security, you get these 2 out. You always start with 4 memory, which means you don't have to pass turn to your opponent when you play Shine Greymon. And I'm also playing 1 copy of the starter deck TK. Just gives all your security Digimon extra 2000 DP, which doesn't really matter because most of the time in your security you're going to be seeing rookies. But it's another one that has no on-play effect, so it's not affected by Rise Greymon. However, you do have to pay attention to it because sometimes you might have something pretty strong in your DP. Your opponent might swing with something that they think is just a cheap little attack, and then if you forget that you have the +2000, you could mess the board straight up. So. We're playing 2 copies of Spiral Masquerade. I did take out the Eden's Javelin. I did take out the Heaven the Gate, something like that. The starter deck, DP neg. Took that out and just went with the Spiral Masquerades. I do unfortunately only have 2 Spiral Masquerades, which is why I'm not playing 3 or 4. If I had 4, I'd definitely be playing 4 just for consistency reasons. Come BT-6, one of these Tamers, probably one of the TKs, will definitely be replaced with the TK and Kari. just so I can have, you know, a variety of tamers if I'm going to still play it this way. Probably take out one of the Shine Greymon so I have 2 instead of 3, as well as maybe the Agilmon. And the option I'm definitely going to be looking for is Wyvern's Breath. I actually cannot wait for Wyvern's Breath. That is just going to be such a great card for yellow. It just negs 15,000 to something. It can kill basically any mega, which is great. I'd probably still play Spiral Masquerade, so that wouldn't be a problem. But a lot of the yellow cards coming out in BT-6 are very more so centric to Dynasmon and his abilities and what he's going to do. So other than the options in the team, there's not really much room for adding anything into Lordknightmon. But if you have any suggestions, you think you know if there's something you might like, you would do with Lordknightmon with some of the cards from BT-6, definitely let me know in the comments below. Definitely leave a comment, and I would love to hear your opinions. I would love to give your opinions a test drive. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to go out in the blaze of glory. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, share this video around, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff to let me know that you guys like what you're seeing and you want more of it. This is Trey, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Ups, downs, downs, up, that's all I know. I'm looking down from where I was at on the floor. They hating on you, what you expect, now I know. It made me stronger, it made me stronger.